Okay, we are going to learn how to do some fun stuff in Photoshop today. I hope you guys will use this for all kinds of things. I'm going to go to my Google Drive, my Amy's pictures that I've cut and pasted from the folder we can all get to, and then, what shall we do? I did that one yesterday and I messed up the video. Let's do Riley serving. She can take it. If it's not a flattering picture, she won't care. She'll just laugh. Right. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and crop. I showed you guys how to do that in the last video. So I'm going to crop this down a little bit. We're going to pretend I'm going to make this a poster for Riley's locker. So I'm going to go ahead and crop just what I want. Now, it's huge right now. If you go to image size, that's going to tell you how big our file is. So right at the top, it shows you how many megabytes we are, 20.9 megabytes since I've cropped it. Right now it's 30.66 inches across, and we obviously don't want a picture that's 30 inches. Besides which, if we're going to print it in color, it's not going to print very well because my resolution down here is only 72 pixels per inch or dots per inch, so we call that PPI or DPI. When we're printing in color, we want to make that 300 black and white, 144 is good. But now if you'll notice, my picture just went from 20.9 megabytes to 363.2 megabytes, which is huge. That's going to like shut my computer down. So I'm going to try to make this about an 8 by 10. So if I set that at 8, my height is still 12, so maybe I need to crop off a little bit. If you guys want to see your rulers, you can go to View Rulers. So now I can see my inches are 8 there, but I'm 12 here. So if I wanted to try to crop off, like I could, and you can drag guidelines down. So if my goal is to get to 12, we'll see what happens when I crop this. So I'm actually a little small now, so I can Control Z. Or maybe not. I don't know what I just did. I was trying to step backward. Maybe I did Control Shift. Okay. So 12 inches is...
Chromebox spoken feedback is ready. Monarch Launchpad. Amy Skillin AV.Skillin at rpbluejays.com. Snap previous menu.
Okay, sorry. Turned on my Chrome Box spoken feedback. I did not want that. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in a little way on Riley. Oh, wrong one. Control plus, zoom in on Riley. And let's say I want to use this blue that's on her jersey to write Riley's the bomb. Over here, I'm going to make this 2 columns because I am used to it that way. I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool, and now I'm going to click on that blue. And you'll notice now in my color palette, my foreground color is that blue. Now I'm going to go to my text tool, and as soon as I click on my document with my text tool, it's going to create another layer. And that is important just to stay aware of your layers. So I can type Riley Rocks. So now I can start editing that. I could have done some changes before if I wanted to also. So I can select all of that. I can go pick a different font. There is supposed to be a way that we can load fonts and they will stay, even though all of our other things that we're wanting to do don't stay and we have to redo them every time. So I'm just going to randomly pick a font. It's not necessarily the font I would use. I can change my font size here. If there's a size you want and you don't see it, like let's say I want to make that 40-point font, I can type that in and hit enter. Now when I go to my move tool, since that is its own layer, it is a box and I can move it around. I like to always show my transform controls. So now I have these little anchor points, and now I could rotate it if I wanted to. I could distort it by stretching it if I wanted to. I need to apply that once I do it. Now we're going to change the color. So I'm going to select all of that again. So I just like triple clicked, and now I'm clicking on that blue color, saying okay, and now I have blue font. Now I'm going to show you up here, we can center it, we can right align it. Left align is the default, and a lot of times I just put it where it is left aligned and then I leave it alone. Now we can do a whole bunch of other stuff with that. I'm going to go back to my text tool again, so you'll see my menu bar change at the top. Right here, I can give it different effects. I can warp it, so I can make it be a flag, and you can play with that then. You can do whatever you want there. I can make it be a wave. I can make it be a fisheye. I can make it arc. I think I'm going to go with the wave for now, or the flag. I like the flag. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say okay there. I can get some new palettes if I click here. And so I'm going to, here's my paragraph palette where I could do indenting and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and X out of that one. Here it tells me again my font. If your font has different styles, this one only has regular, so if I wanted to italicize it, I could fake italicize it there. That's kind of faking it. I can change my height and my width here if I want to stretch it out and distort it. So if I wanted to make it look stretched, I could change my percentage. So now the width is 100%, but the height is 125%. I can change my color here. I can add a line underneath it. I didn't notice that showing up. I can make it superscript. Oh, it's because I'm not selected. There we go. So now we have a line under all of it. I could just pick one letter to make a superscript. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I can do small caps. I can change it to all caps right here. I'm going to do small caps. Okay. And then again, all of these palettes, right now it's a floating palette. If I wanted to dock it, I could dock it over here. It's going to disappear when we close Photoshop, unfortunately, at this time. I'm going to go back to my Move tool, and I'm going to add some effects to this. While I'm selected on here, I can change the opacity. So the opacity is how transparent it is. The less opaque it is, the more transparent it is. So 0% opacity would be 100% transparent. You can't see it. 100% opacity would be no transparent. You can't see through it at all. But you can always play with that and make things a little transparent. Now down here on my effects palette, that's bevel and emboss. So there's without bevel and emboss, with bevel and emboss. It just kind of makes it look like it's popping off the page. I can add a stroke if I want to. If I add a stroke, I can change the color of it here. So if I wanted it to be a white stroke, when you open this right here, you see your colors palette. So I'm not actually purely white there, I don't think, because white should be 0, 0, 0, 0. So we do our colors in CMYK because we print on CMYK printers. Monitors are usually RGB printers. This tells you down here what that web color would be if you're designing a web page. That always has a hashtag in front of it. So I've got completely white there. I'm going to say okay, but now maybe I want my stroke to be a little thicker so I can see it. So you can, in all of these things you guys can mess with. You're not going to mess anything up, I promise. You can change the position. You can just play with all this stuff. Drop shadow is something we used last year on some things. You might have to change how far out the drop shadow goes to be able to see it. I don't know if you guys can see that. See that shadow that's moving around? You can change the opacity of the drop shadow. So don't be afraid to play with those. Do some cool things. So if I decide I am done with my picture of Riley, I am going to want to flatten my image right here before I save it, because if it's not flattened, only somebody with Photoshop will be able to open it if I save it as a Photoshop document, and I can no longer not make any edits. So now I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to give it a new name because I don't want to save over my original file because I still want to save that for the yearbook. So I'm going to call this Riley Poster, save, okay, close, and I am done. So I hope you all enjoy that lesson.